So, a few weeks ago, PJiggles made a video about every character in Smash Ultimate's worst move. He went to every single character Discord and asked what people thought, and with their help decided each character's bottom of the barrel attack. Now, anytime a non-factual statement is said on the internet, someone will find a way to disagree with you. So, to be expected, about half the comments are disagreeing with the choices made. However, about half of those comments are about the decision that was made for Kirby, which was Down Air. Even PJiggle seemed a little confused and tried to argue for Hammer Flip, which is pretty universally known as one of the worst moves in the game. And a video put out by Joe K in July named Down Air Kirby's best move. A decent amount of comments on the PJiggles video seemed to think that as well. Now, a lot of comments even suggested that the Kirby Discord members were trolling or just completely uninformed. But that's not true at all. I actually respect the opinions of all those specific members who made the comments. They aren't uninformed people at all. So why is there so much confusion about the general consensus of a move's viability? Well, it mostly comes down to level of play. I'm going to try not to give too much of my opinions and just present facts and let you decide for yourself. But if you do want my opinion, I don't think it's Kirby's worst move, but it's probably not too far off. So if you're coming into this video thinking that Down Air is one of Kirby's best moves at a competitive level, or really just above average, you're going to be in for a surprise. So first, let's take a step back and remember the good old days when you first picked up a controller and discovered Kirby's Down B. The move seemed absolutely busted. You could float up to the top and come hurtling down. The move can get hit without taking damage, it destroys people in free-for-alls, and is decently powerful. What was there not to love? In fact, that's the reason I main Kirby today. So if you ask a complete beginner of the game what they thought Kirby's best move was, they would probably actually say Down B. But if they improve, they would quickly learn it's very easy to avoid, especially when that's the only thing the Kirby player is going for. Learning to deal with Down B is maybe some players' first instances of adapting to opponents' playstyle. So why bring that up? Well, that's kind of what Down Air is, but to one level of play higher. I know that's a bit of an oversimplification, but it's pretty much what it is, or at least for people who use it constantly in the neutral. But the difference is, you can get pretty far by spamming this move without really understanding how lackluster this move is. I decided to see how far I could go in an online tourney by only going for Down Air and Down Air follow-ups. And I actually won the first tourney that I did. This might lead you to conclude that it is a good move, but it's only good at this level of play. So if your goal is to win online tourneys, then sure, maybe you can just spam Down Air. But if you want to get anywhere in the competitive scene, you're going to have to realize that it's not that great. In the same way that if you just want to beat your casual friends in free-for-alls, Down B is probably your best bet. But once you get past this level of play, a Kirby main may have no idea why they keep losing by spamming Down Air when it worked before. They're probably just going to blame their low-tier character without realizing how predictably they're playing. So let's take a look at the move itself and see why it's so exploitable. Kirby's Down Air comes out frame 18. That might not seem too bad for someone without a huge knowledge on frame data, but let's take a look at every aerial in the game that is slower than frame 18. That's it. That's all of them. Out of around the 400 aerials or so in Smash Ultimate, Down Air comes in tied for 10th slowest. Notice anything about the few that are slower? They're almost all heavy characters that get a ton off of landing these moves, like a strong spike, where they can kill very early, or just have really big hitboxes. And most of them aren't considered that great of moves despite that. And Kirby's move isn't big or strong, and it still comes out super slow. It's pretty strange that a character this light has a move this slow. In fact, of the 9 characters that are Kirby's weight or lighter, the next closest aerial in frame data is Mewtwo's Down Air, which is still 3 frames faster and a lot stronger. Now you may argue, well, Kirby's Down Air spikes. Well, the spike is extremely weaker than pretty much all of these mentioned. Most of these moves can kill as low as about 30 or 40% against a character with an average recovery, but Kirby's opponents often find themselves living the spike hitbox past 100. It's incredibly weak. And if you fast fall at the wrong time or just get a weird hit, you don't even get the spiking hitbox at the end. You'll just kind of drag them down for a little bit. Now yes, there is one good thing about the spike of the move compared to the others listed. The move is active for a while, on and off for about 15 frames, while most of the other ones just have a 2 or 3 frame active spike. But remember that the beginning hitboxes do not spike, they just kind of drag your opponent in for the spike at the end. Unfortunately though, there are 1 frame breaks in between the little drills, which can make it lose to some moves instead of clanking on occasion, but that's how multi-hits generally work. The activeness of this move makes it slightly harder to really compare, since the move is sort of unique in that aspect. The closest thing I could really think of is Lucas's Down Air. However, this move is active for 10 frames longer and comes out frame 10 instead of 18, almost twice as quick. But there are bigger breaks in between each of Lucas's hits, so it's worse in that aspect. So in terms of edge guarding, this move isn't that great. In certain matchups, I do like it though. Mostly against characters that go straight up. But as neutral air has consistently gotten better through patches, I'm finding myself going for that more and other aerials for edge guarding. Let's take a look at neutral air versus down air real quick. They both last 54 total frames, but neutral air comes out 10 frames quicker and the hitbox is active for 8 frames longer without any breaks in between. The early hit of the move is very strong, but the late hit can also be nice for just having a hitbox there. Sure, it doesn't spike, but down air barely does that anyways. In fact, the armor on down B comes out frame 19, just 1 frame slower than when down air comes out. So while the hitbox isn't active until frame 29, oftentimes it can take the hit and essentially act like a frame 19 move, which can sometimes be better than down air. However, down B sends you upwards instead of downwards, so you're often going to rely on a mistech or just sending your opponent up in the air and giving them damage. Okay, so we looked at edge guarding with this move. How about using it on stage? Well, the hitbox isn't that large, it's not disjointed, and it's Kirby's least safe aerial on shield. It's minus 12 on shield, which could be worse, but it can be punished by a decent amount of quick out of shield options. It's by far Kirby's least safe aerial on shield. Now, since lower levels of play don't usually do their best out of shield options, it may lead players to believe that this move is a very safe option when it actually isn't. And since it's not disjointed, you don't even need to shield it, since you can beat it out with any type of disjoint, or you can just simply get out of the way of it. Against a lot of players, it's pretty predictable when it's coming, so just be out of the way of the move if you think it is coming, and then punish it. And obviously don't spot dodge the move or drop your shield too early. Now, what about if you land the move? At least it's Kirby's best combo starter, right? Well, not really. It can be an okay combo starter, but is much worse than most people think. Now, in Smash 4, it was a lot more consistent. You had a pretty good amount of frame advantage, and depending on the character and how much rage you had, you could often do down air to down smash and kill at pretty early percents. Now, generally if you land a down air and your opponent is in front of you, you grab, and behind you, you up tilt. These can both lead to good follow-ups at lower percents. Now, there's other options, but that's a pretty common Kirby flowchart. But against a lot of characters, grab isn't always guaranteed. And for some cases, you aren't even guaranteed an up tilt, a move that comes out frame 4. Against some heavies, down air just doesn't have enough frame advantage to be able to an up tilt, despite every single one of Kirby's other aerials being able to combo into up tilt. Yeah, a lot of times down air is the only aerial that doesn't combo into up tilt. You can find a list compiled of the frame advantage that you get from a landing down air in the description, but be warned, it's a little sad to look at. At times, it's actually Kirby's worst combo starting aerial. Now you might be thinking, well, at least it's good for when my opponent is at high percents. I can do the down air, get a grab, and do an up throw and get a kill. Unfortunately, if you get the spiking hitbox of the move, it sends the opponent in the teching situation, and they're able to tech and avoid the grab altogether. And you really don't know if your opponent is going to be ready to tech or if they're going to get sent up into the air, so it's really just kind of a guessing game at that point. Every single one of Kirby's other aerials comes out frame 10 or faster, and they're also much safer on shield. For such a slow and unsafe aerial, the frame advantage you get from a landing down air is pretty laughable, unlike a lot of characters that actually get really nice kill confirms from their down air. Something I haven't mentioned is that down air can be auto-cancelled, which can actually lead into a guaranteed up smash at certain percents. But it requires you to start it at a very specific height and fast fall at the right time to avoid the landing hitbox. Shorter characters have to be in the air to get hit by the right hits, so it isn't super practical against them. But this is pretty difficult. You can also loop it with up tilts and it has some application, but I find it pretty inconsistent to do. So, down air comes out extremely slow. It isn't Kirby's best combo starter, it doesn't kill well off stage, isn't disjointed, and isn't safe on shield. A lot of the things that most people think it can do are done much better by Kirby's other aerials. Now, let's say your opponent is above you and they go for a very unsafe option like a laggy up smash. You basically get a free punish from the air. Is down air your best bet? At mid percents, it can be pretty good. A down air up tilt up air or down air up tilt back air can be about 30%, same with a down air grab and a down throw. But Kirby often has better options, especially at higher percents. So for example, if your opponent is around kill percent, you can do the late hit of neutral air and combo into a forward smash. Or you can do the first hit of forward air and combo that into a forward smash. And no, do not listen to this guy, down air does not combo into forward smash, it's not even close. And as I was in the middle of recording and editing this video, SK put out a great video showing some combos and kill confirms that don't require down air at all, so check out that video for some ideas. So what is this move even good for? Well, against certain recoveries, it can be devastating. If you force a character to recover straight up, down air is amazing to have. It's also great against characters without a good vertical recovery like Donkey Kong. Even if it doesn't spike and lead to a death right away, oftentimes your opponent will panic a B and you can go for another one and keep doing it until it does kill. And like I said before, it does linger, so can often make it a lot easier to connect than other down airs. Now, it's not perfect and doesn't work well against every recovery, but in certain matchups, it's a lifesaver. It also combos from a forward throw at lower percents on a lot of characters. Kirby can get an insane amount of percent from a grab at 0, and down air is an essential part of that. Without it, some of the combos would be cut short. It's also part of some of the optimal follow-ups from a jab lock in terms of percent. It can be used to cover certain ledge get-ups, it can shield poke some characters pretty well, and it beats out a spot dodge. It can be used to hub cancel out of tumble, which can be very useful, but you can also use nair for this. So remember, a lot of times other moves can do the job just as well or better. So overall, it's not a useless move by any means, but when you look at it as a whole, it really isn't the move most players tend to make it out to be. It can do a lot of different things, but it does all of them pretty mediocre. Most of the time, other aerials will do the job better. I would argue it's one of the most overrated moves in the entire game, and it's also one of the most underwhelming moves in the game. So if your definition of worst aligns more with those, then it might be Kirby's worst move. However, my definition more lines up with how much would this character change if you removed it from their kit. And for me, if you removed Hammer, my results with Kirby would barely be touched, but if you remove down air, I would definitely get less wins. So while I don't personally think it's Kirby's worst move, it's much closer to the worst than it is to Kirby's best. I still have a lot to say about this move, but the more I add to this, the more it feels like a school essay, so I guess I'll stop here. It's already long enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more Kirby content, subscribe to this channel. Thank you to SK and PJiggles, I guess, for making this video possible, and a lot of members of the Kirby Discord for compiling some of the information that was used in this video. Also, thank you to all of the new Patreon supporters. I just launched my Patreon, and it has some cool rewards like game analysis, one-on-one coaching, and access to supporters-only channel in my Discord. However, the rest of the Discord is completely free to join. We have over 250 members and counting. It's a great place to hang out or just find someone to play some Smash games against. Links to both of those are in the description. Thank you again for watching. Peace.